Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we're actually talking about robots because robots are starting to get legal rights, and I think this is actually a very interesting situation because there are definitely pros and cons to this according to both sides of the aisle. And I think this is basically going to be our future. So here's what's going on. This is coming from an article from Axios. I thought this was just absolutely fascinating because as small robots proliferate on things like sidewalks and city streets, so does the legislation that starts to grant them essentially access rights and even classifies them, in the case of the state of Pennsylvania here in the United States, as pedestrians. Now, here's why this matters. Obviously, I think a lot of people have this fear that they're going to be going around dodging heavy, fast-moving droids, essentially going all over the place, essentially like from Amazon and FedEx and all these other places as we start to see drone deliveries and other things. And so that is obviously a concern. Now, if you listen to Greg Lynn, who's the CEO of Piaggio, Fast Forward, they make basically a suitcase-sized robot that's about $3,200 called the Gita that follows the owner alone. And he, talking about this, said, and I quote, "The sidewalk is the new hot debated space that the aerial drones were maybe 3 or 5 years ago. There's also a lot of people trying to deploy robots on bike lanes where robots can go faster than on sidewalks." And so that's actually, I think, a really interesting point as well. We have a lot of, especially in urban areas, people that use bicycles to get around. Now, states like Pennsylvania, Virginia, Idaho, Florida, and Wisconsin have all passed what are considered to be rules permitting robots to operate on sidewalks, which is prompting pushback from cities like Pittsburgh that fears mishaps. Now, in Pennsylvania, robot quote-unquote pedestrians can weigh up to 550 pounds and essentially move at up to 12 miles an hour. And according to the Pittsburgh City paper, and I quote, "Opposition has largely come from pedestrian and accessibility advocates, as well as labor unions like Teamsters." Now, the laws are essentially a boon to Amazon's Scout delivery robot, as well as FedEx's Roxo, which are being tested in urban and suburban settings right now, as I'm sitting here talking to you. And according to Wired, and I quote, "Backers say laws will usher in a future where household items show up in a matter of hours, with fewer idling delivery vans blocking traffic and spewing emissions." In other words, these robots, for example, could be battery operated, and essentially they can maneuver and they don't have to sit in traffic as they scoot through the sidewalks and all of that, avoiding the traffic just to deliver and keep going and going and going. And so obviously that would, I imagine, would be a concern to the Teamsters and others, but from an emissions and ecology standpoint, that may actually be better, especially since I know Amazon and FedEx are both looking to move their fleets to all battery operated, non-gasoline and all of that, but we'll see where that goes. Now, the other side of the aisle, though, that is not a huge fan of this, is actually some technology evangelists that think this is a rather bad idea. Now, according to the National Association of City Transportation Officials, also known as NACDO, they say the robots, quote, "should be severely restricted, if not banned outright." According to a report by NACDO, and I quote, "Uncoordinated autonomous delivery vehicles could flood sidewalks with bots, making walking increasingly difficult and unpleasant. Drone delivery could significantly increase noise pollution and add a new dimension of chaos to urban streets." Now, if you've ever heard a drone up close, I actually, had my roof checked a couple of years ago, and instead of the person actually going up on a ladder and going onto my roof, they actually hauled out a droid. I keep wanting to say droid, but I know it's a drone. They hauled out a drone with high-definition cameras on it and basically spun it up to the roof to see where the problem was and all of that. And that thing was pretty loud. And so imagine thousands of those things zipping here and there and everywhere to deliver the absolute plethora of Amazon packages that we see every day. I cannot basically drive out of my neighborhood without seeing an Amazon delivery truck somewhere in the vicinity just cranking out packages through the house. Now, San Francisco, for example, also did ban sidewalk robots in 2017, but they made a single exception for that, which was a test for Postmates, they have a bot called Serve to see how that works. But I think this is the future. As we are looking at delivery, I think smaller like local pizza places and stuff will probably still have those human deliverers that simply just hop into a car and drive all over town. But when we're talking about package deliveries from Amazon or FedEx, or other organizations that are basically shipping, so if I go ahead and order something online from wherever it is, it's probably going to come UPS or FedEx. If I'm coming from Amazon, it's probably just going to come from Amazon delivery. we might see a lot of drones. We might see a lot of robots moving back and forth in an urban environment. If small businesses are trading with other small businesses, they might have robots. And I think this also leads to other legislation as well. Obviously, at the moment, a robot is property of the owner of that, whether it's a company or an individual. And so to basically harm or damage one of these robots would essentially be to damage property, which could be a misdemeanor or a felony, depending on the cost and all of that. But I'm wondering if at some point robots are going to get more rights than simply the right of way or the ability to roll next to us, in an urban environment on the sidewalk. So I'm curious to see where this goes. I thought this was an interesting topic for the day, and so this is your news of the day, and there you go. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, everyone.